Hey, good morning. Good morning. Got a few more minutes of morning where I'm at here in the great state of Alabama. And I wanted to jump on here today in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King, wanted to talk about some things, provide some clarity on some things, and continue to raise awareness. My whole thing is educate to elevate. And wanted to give a rundown too on some. I went to a commemorative breakfast this morning in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King, and got another event that I'm heading to this afternoon back here in Alabama. But I just wanted to come on, and the topic that I wanted to talk about is the outcry against oppression. The outcry against oppression. And I think it's very important to have that discussion, it's particularly on the day that we set aside to celebrate the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And really define what oppression is, because I think a lot of times oppression is one of those words that people throw out. Oppression is one of those words that people use all of the time, just to say. But I think not only that, I think, but having a clear understanding, gaining a shared and clear understanding of the meaning of things, provide us a clarity that a lot of us can walk in. And that's what I wanted to do today. And I hope everybody's having a blessed day, a wonderful day. Early morning for me, but there's nothing new. And I was excited to be a part and participate into a commemorative birthday and unity breakfast that they had in Perry County today in Marion, Alabama. And it was good to be there. And I'm going to share some things with that about that event later. But in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I wanted to come on here and talk about oppression, right? Why is that important? Why is it important? And I said outcry against oppression. Dr. Martin Luther King, everybody know, born in 1929, died in 1960, or was assassinated in 1968, and was a world-renowned known civil rights leader who advocated for change, who advocated for accountability, who were now considered an agent of change, and historically is world-renowned and internationally respected. A Nobel Peace Prize winner, can go down the laundry list of all of the things he was able to accomplish in this short life. And one of the things about it is he was very outspoken about oppression. He was very outspoken about the plight of the community. And not just the African-American community as well, because, that's, to me, that was led to his assassination when he started talking about fair and equality towards all the common man, and not just the African-American community. One thing that I shared a post earlier. In the post I shared earlier, I talked about, today is a day that we celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King on his birthday, day that's set aside, a federal holiday. And the reason why we celebrate him is now he's celebrated. What a lot of people that don't know, and I know those that were back during that time, but based off of research and seeing, he was not well liked by a lot of people while he was alive. As a matter of fact, if I'm being honest, some of the things that I shared in there, because I did a quick research on it, and I just asked the question, what were some of the things that Dr. Martin Luther King opposition said about him, right? And I want to say one, they said this. A lot of people said he was a communist being used by communists, right? The segregationists and some government officials pushed this idea that the movement was communist influence, and the FBI fixated on alleged communist advisors around King. That was that was a lot that was going on back then. Two, he was labeled as a liar. He was labeled as a liar, a fraud, a danger to black people. This was done by former FBI director J. Edgar Hoover, who publicly attacked King. And everybody know, well, if you're not familiar with it, J. Edgar Hoover was, very adamant about, we know about him surveillance Dr. King and trying to diminish his character and quote unquote expose him to attack his credibility and the things that he said. Right. The third thing they said, and this is the funny thing, Martin Luther King was labeled an outside agitator. He was labeled an outsider agitator, that he was stirring up trouble. And they said, especially in places where, you know, he was about supporting the cause. He went to Memphis. He went to a lot of other places, and people say he was an outside agitator. Sounds very familiar, right? Sounds very familiar, with being labeled an outside agitator, before he passed away. Next, they say he was causing disorder and violence, right? It's amazing how these labels are put on about it, but people that were critics of, Dr. King, and the civil rights movement, you know, they tried to create a narrative, to discredit their motives, to discredit the things that they were doing. But it didn't work. People said he was anti-American, that he was hurting the country. People also said most people didn't even like him, right? And they did not like him at the time because they really wanted him to be quiet. They really wanted him to shut up. They didn't want him to speak out. They didn't want him to call for accountability. And I say all of that, right, because I'm saying all that to segue into another thing. And the thing I want to segue into is I want to define what oppression is, right? Because a lot of times when we talk oppression, especially within the black belt, most of the time oppression is presented as in relative to civil rights movement or the Jim Crow South. And they present it that way because, you know, it was a trying time then, but, you know, that was 60 years ago. I'm not suggesting that those elements of oppression the residue of those elements doesn't still exist today. But I want to read to you guys what the actual definition of oppression is. And once we read the definition, then you won't easily be able to associate a color with it, but you will see the actions of it and the definitions of it and come to a conclusion for yourself, right? Oppression is, and I'm reading this, right? Oppression is the systematic, unjust use of power by a dominant group to control, to disempower, and to marginalize another group. Maintain through laws, institutions, norms, and individual biases, leading to severe restrictions, disadvantages, and suffering, often based on race, gender, class, or other identities, and can manifest as cruelty, burdens, or a sense of being weighed down. Causes include power imbalances and prejudice. Effects are discrimination, lack of freedom, and psychological distress. While strategies to combat it involve challenging systems, promoting equality, and fostering awareness, right? And I would just say this, right? The reason why I say that on Dr. Martin Luther King Day is what was very alarming today as I sat in the commemorative breakfast for Dr. Martin Luther King. For the commemorative breakfast for Dr. Martin Luther King, Chairman Albert Fitzgerald Turner got up and made comments directed towards me. And I'm going to tell you how I know it was directed towards me. He made comments like, well, I stayed here. I didn't go to New York. I didn't go to other places. And I stayed here after I came out of law school. I came back home. And I came back home to work. Now, not only that, he made statements like naysayers. And this is what he said. He said, naysayers. Hey, Albert, I see you watching. If you want to come on right now, I'll bring you on. But I am addressing your slide remarks at the Dr. Martin Luther King event this morning, which I thought was distasteful, and I thought was definitely not the time to do it if we're going to honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, right? And what I don't understand is, why is it a negative for my service, for me to serve in the United States military, for me to serve 26 years in the United States military, and to go and answer the call wherever the United States government send me? But why is it a problem with me being from the black belt, me advocating from the black belt? Why am I a naysayer when I call to account? When I just ask about, hey, you said this on this date. Why did you say this? You see what I'm saying? And that is not trying to kill hope. That, and he made the statement about people are trying to take your hope and kill hope, right? And I'm going to read something to you. I'm going to read scripture to you. And if I see you watching, again, I'm letting you know you can come on here and we can have a discussion, right? But this, I just really want to call out the how distasteful and disrespectful to make those comments, at the Dr. Martin Luther King breakfast this morning. And for those that don't know, Miss Vonnie Royster, she recorded the thing live, and you can go to her page and you can see from her live the exact words that were said. And it's saddening. The thing about it is now we want to play on the strings of hope. Now, this is the thing. I'm going to go to scripture. Since we wanted to pray this morning and talk about scriptures and all these things, right? I'm going to scriptures, and I'm going to Romans, the 5th chapter, verses 1 through 5. All right. Romans 5th chapter, verses 1 through 5. And this is the NIV version, the New International Version. And it says, verse 1, therefore, since we have been justified through faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom we have gained access by faith into the grace in which we now stand. And we boast in the hope of the glory of God. That's verse 2. The verse 3 said, not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that sufferings produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope. Now, this is what I like about verse 5. Verse 5 said, and hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. Right now, the reason why I wanted to talk about that is because the thing about raising awareness, presenting facts, presenting truth, and calling to account for people lying to the community, how is that trying to steal the hope of the community? Because the Bible says hope does not disappoint. If somebody been in a position for 25 years, making promises after promises, lies after lies, and nobody really seeing anything different, then how is that hope for the betterment of the people? I'm just curious. I want to understand that. Right. And I just really found that to be very distasteful. Right. And the other statement that was made, other shots about people want to see receipts, and people all want to see receipts and all that. The funny thing with all of that, you're taking shots because of somebody calling to you to account for something that you should have already been doing in the first place. That ain't nothing special. All of the things that you prescribe and you say all the time on your page, on your Perry County Commission page about all of the stuff that you do. Now you get somebody that consistently asks you, hey man, you said this, but this what the law said, or this what this said, and it shows that you have been lying and misleading the people. Now all of a sudden, you want to try to throw little slick innuendos and say all this instead of providing the things that you're supposed to provide in the first place. That's crazy, right? And then the other thing with all of this is he made a statement. This came out of his mouth. You can go to Miss Vonnie Royster page and you can see the live video. And he said this. He said, just because he said it now, he said, just because you get a letter awarding you a grant, that don't mean that you get the money. In 2021, you get a letter awarding you a grant, that don't mean you get the money. Now, the funny thing is, he talked about, I just went to Montgomery, and they still talking about we may get the money in February, we may get the money there. Now, my question with that is this. If you have knowledge that you getting awarded a grant money at a certain time, then why do you go on your page and announce to the community that you got this a certain amount awarded grant money to you? Why would you go do that if you know that that doesn't mean that you get the money? And it could potentially be in years that you may get the money. Why won't you just go to the community and tell them, hey, we got awarded this grant money, but hey, the timeline for us receiving the money may be X, Y, and Z. Why do you automatically go and present it at the time like you got the money to mislead the people in the community that you got the money. But when somebody go back and they actually check the sources and they realize that you ain't got it, then they provide that source and they provide the link that people can go see it for themselves. Then all of a sudden they a troublemaker. They are trying to destroy the hope of the people because you lied. Stop lying. Just stop lying. Like I keep saying, you are the one that's lying to the people, Albert. You are the one. Those people that support you can support you. Right? I'm going to tell you what he does, and he does this well. Albert loved to use jobs from the county government to give people jobs, to get them raised, to buy loyalty. That's what he does. I'm just telling you, that's what it's all about. Everything that he does is about serving his own self-interest. And if you can look at the track record for all of it, you can look at it, right? But I want to tell you what another lie was told. Yesterday, on Sunday, at the news, on yesterday, I'm about to get it. On yesterday, January the 18th, Chairman Albert Fitzgerald Turner did his usual Sunday morning radio show on WJUS. Y'all know what I'm talking about. AM 1310 and FM 94.3. He does it at 7:30 in the morning. He does it every Sunday morning, right? During the show, he said he would contact Governor Kay Ivey and try to get her to appoint the current Revenue Commission, Miss Arthurita K. Smith, because she is not facing anyone in the election. That's what he said on the radio. Now, there's some people that's watching right now heard him say that on the radio. Now, only thing I did was I went and asked a question. And the question that I asked was, hey, does the governor appoint a revenue commission in Alabama? Right? And the answer that came back in. And before I even go there, I want to make sure that we know this. The same lady that Albert was on the radio talking about he's going to try to get Governor Kay Ivey. And I'm going to tell you why he does that. He loved to name drop, take pictures with people to make himself feel like he's more important than what he actually is. I'm just telling you that right now. That's what he does. That's why he used the county to pay for him to have many trips to go up to DC so he can go take pictures with people, right? And so he can come back and post it to make it look like he's so connected to people. And he's been doing this tactics for years. But like I said before, since you're so connected with all these people, my question to you is, why hasn't that translated to Perry County benefiting from it? Besides you just making those claims. But I'm going to go back to it. Miss Arthurita Smith, who is the current Revenue Commission, Miss Smith, Albert, I wanted to be known, Albert personally went to two people to try to get them to run against her, but they declined him. So if you're out there actively and unsuccessfully trying to get people to run against a lady, why are you getting on the radio to try to make it like you're gonna do her a favor to get the governor to appoint her to run as the revenue commissioner, when if she's running for office and she's running unopposed, she gonna get elected anyway? That don't make any sense. But that's the stuff he does. He does that to make it seem like he got his hands in everything. But it's funny how he never has his hands when it comes to being accountable for what's going on with the financial situations in Perry County. His hand is never in it then, but his hand is in everything else. Now, the question that I asked was, what does Alabama law say about appointments? And Alabama law said governor usually does not pick. The governor can, but the governor usually does not pick. Why? Or appoint a county revenue just because they want to. They are normally an elected job, meaning the voters choose who get that job. The governor can appoint someone only if the job becomes empty, or because it becomes vacant due to somebody dying, somebody quit, or somebody being removed. That is not the case right now. But he'll get on the radio and put that false information out to the people. But you try to say me providing facts and information and raising awareness to the people as if I'm trying to kill the hope of the people. You know what? You know what the funny thing is? The hope that I'm talking about, the hope of change is not tied to me being tied to or voted into a political office. It's not tied to any of that. It is solely about raising awareness to the people so the people can see for themselves. And you just don't like the fact that I'm talking. You call me an agitator. You call me an outsider. You call me a naysayer. You the one that said that I don't know what I'm talking about. You said that I ain't got power to make the commission move or do anything I say. You said that. I ain't say that. Only thing I've been consistent about, and I'm going to share some old comments of years ago that you will see my argument has been the same against Albert Turner for his lies and his misleading practices. But it was just today. I was happy to be at the event. When I saw that it was announced, I said it then that I was going to come back, and I was going to attend the event. And I decided to attend the event in my military uniform. Why? Because I'm getting ready to retire. I wanted to come home. That's the way my daddy was very proud of me being in the military, and being in a town where there's the only military junior college in the Southeast. And that's something that I wanted to do. And one of the last times that I'll be wearing my dress uniform before I retire. That's why I chose to do it. But at the same point, none of this is personal. Just stop lying. Just stop lying. Seriously. And be truthful to the people. And I just found it very distasteful for you to use Dr. Martin Luther King event this morning to try to take shots at me. That's crazy. Honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his legacy through your actions. And making comments like when he was talking about when he was introducing the guest speaker, Mr. Chris Spencer, who is the CEO of the Black Belt Foundation, and come to find out he's a former officer in the United States Army, a former in the United States Army, and a former commander and a veteran of the Desert Storm War. But when he got up to introduce him, one thing he said was, when we needed some funds, and we needed some money, when we needed some funds and we needed some money, one thing that Chris didn't do, he didn't ask us for an audit. He didn't ask us to see our books. He didn't ask us this. He just gave us the money. One thing that I'll say with that is, as a city government, as a county government, as any municipal or county government institution, if you go to a financial organization to request funding, they're going to want to see the same thing just like people. They want to see how much money you make. They're going to want to see your credit score. If you don't have a good credit score, they're going to want some collateral. They're going to want something to show that they're going to get their money back. So why is it hard for somebody to ask those type of questions? The question should be asked is, since you've been in leadership for 25 years, why isn't Perry County in good standing enough to go and borrow money against other institutions? Why they got to go to other institutions that don't ask them for their audits, that don't ask them to see their books? Why? You see how crazy that sounds? That's not a flex. You're trying to find a back way so that you ain't got to address the misappropriations that you did while you've been in leadership. That's not a flex. It's not. I'm thankful for the Black Belt Foundation and the work that they've done in the community to be able to provide grants and be able to provide loans and financial help and assisting the municipalities in the area, right? But that still doesn't dissolve the elected officials' responsibility to make sure that the counties and the city governments are in good financial standing. That doesn't dissolve that. It's crazy to me. Like, one of the things that's so crazy to me is out of all of this on Dr. Martin Luther King Day, you got somebody who can't even take themselves out of the play and honor Dr. Martin Luther King. They want to take shots at people. Crazy. That's crazy. And I know he watches this. I know that. I saw him watching this earlier. I'm going to continue to invite him to come on. We can have a conversation, right? But I know he won't come on because the numerous times that I reached out to him before, he will continue to take the cowardice way out and throw rocks and hide his hand. But I've been a person of integrity. I've been a person that's been stand up, right? I've been a person who have shown that they're not fearful and not confrontational. No, truly a professional who is willing to stand up and advocate for what's right. I am a person who is not against accountability, right? I'm a person that's not against that, right? I feel that I have demonstrated, Mac G, yes. If you say you got funding, people want to know how it's dispersed. So how is that asking for receipts a bad thing when you should be doing it anyway? Do y'all know? And it's so funny. He said, he made this comment too. Y'all want to know how Perry County was gonna fix up the the Barnett King Center Black Belt Foundation. They gonna give us the money. And he laughing, right? But did y'all remember that he promised that he was gonna get $10 million in 2015? That he promised that he was gonna get? Then they got 130 some thousand. Then he allocated $134,325 of the COVID money. Y'all remember all of that promise that he made now? And he's still talking now 10 years later about he gonna get some more money. But y'all talking about me? Who you gonna hope in somebody that keep lying to y'all like that? That's what I want to know. That right there is what I want to know. And I'm not gonna be quiet. I'm not gonna be quiet. I'm not gonna not stand for what's right. Right? And there's a lot of people may be agreeing with me because I'm talking about Albert Turner. And you may not agree with the things I agree with or like me or whatever. So you offer temporary support because I'm talking about that. But I'm a person who stands for what's right. And what I mean by stand for what's right, if you've been doing wrong and I come across that information and you're a public official, right? I just want to let it be known that, I'm going to be as open and honest and as candid about providing that information as well. Because it should be about doing what's right for the community. I'm not talking about somebody disagree with you or not. I'm talking about doing what's right for the community. And for the people that's out there who may feel that other people may be talking to me, may be influencing me, may be trying to give me things and manipulate me, I want to assure you that I'm standing on my own 2 feet. I put out information that I want to put out. There's nobody that's controlling me. Just being honest with you. People love to say certain things. I feel that what I'm doing, I'm led to do it by God. That's what I feel. Honestly, that's what I feel. I have a passion to do it. I have the knowledge to do it. And I just have an unwavering resolve to continue to provide truthful information. And I have yet to waver from the consistent standard that I've operated in since I started. And Mac G, you are 100%. If you're doing what's right, showing receipts shouldn't be an issue. And do y'all know that should be public record anyway? Y'all, I'm telling y'all right now, all of these shots and everything else, when accountability comes, because it is coming, when accountability comes, a lot of people who have something to say about what I've been talking about are going to be quiet because they're going to be like, dang. And Hicks John said he announced the grants, the projects, and the completion dates. Then turn around and announce he never received the money makes him sound incompetent. He needs to boost calms before reality. That's all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying. Promises made, promises kept. Cedar Bluff Road, I can go to it right now. I can drive to it right now. It's still the same. Those were started back in 2023. Not just Cedar Bluff Road, all of this stuff. He talked about all the highways and all of this. For those people in Perry County What road work that y'all know that's been done the last 5 years in Perry County? Do y'all feel like on average $3 to $5 million being spent a year to repair roads and bridges in Perry County? I know you can be mad at me and be tired of me, but I just wanted to propose that question. I wanted to propose that question, right? And the reality is this, man. I'm so excited about being retired. I'm so excited about coming back and being involved in the community. I'm very excited about it. And if you think I'm a problem now for just advocating for change and showing the truth, you know, when I'm fully retired, I ain't gonna have nothing else to do. I ain't gonna have nothing else to do. That's a good thing, and I'm excited about it. I'm very excited about it. But man, I hope you guys have a great day today. Man, look, stay vigilant and stay consistent. And I do want to say this. I was able to meet Commissioner Barbara House today. I was able to meet them. I thank them, her singing group, the Angelics. They sounded marvelous. I told them I was their fourth members. I was singing bass back at the table. But they sounded amazing in their renditions that they did. I saw Mr. James Essex, Coach Essex, who used to coach at Greensboro. I was able to see him today. I haven't seen him in a number of years. I saw Judge Wiggins at the event. I was able to meet Donald Bennett, who's running against Albert Turner. I was able to meet him today as I was walking in the building. I was able to meet him in person today, so it was good to meet him today. Met a lot of people, you know, and it was good to see people there today. But man, I would tell you, man, Dr. Martin Luther King was not celebrated, was talked bad about, and was not wasn't as revered as he is now when he was alive. Why? Because most time when you're advocating for change, you're disrupting the status quo. And those that have power don't want to give up power, and they're going to do everything they can to fight against that power being given up. You have to ask yourself. Albert Turner said this, and I ain't said this earlier, but I did want to bring this up. During the live, he got up and he made this comment, and he made a comment directed towards me. He was like, you know, people are suggesting that, you know, we getting all this money and suggesting that Albert Turner stole over $200 million. I never said that he stole anything. I just asked where the money went, right? But then he said, this is what he said, and I quote, "I got a couple million, but I ain't got 200 million. And my question to that is, how can an individual since 2000 only have a part-time job as a county commissioner, gain the wealth of a couple $1 million sitting as a county commissioner? And if you got a couple million and you got a couple million, you're a millionaire as a commissioner. You're a millionaire as a commissioner in the second poorest county in Alabama and the 23rd poorest county in the nation. What does that say about you? And you've only worked a part-time job as the commissioner, Perry County Commission, since 2000. What does that say? What does that suggest when people ask questions about financial accountability and the appropriation of grants and funding and all of that stuff, and you can't get none of it? None of that stuff is provided. But you got a commissioner who's been on the commission for 25 years, said today that he got a couple of million, but he ain't got 200 million like somebody said that he's stealing. How did they acquire all of that wealth in the second poorest county in the state? And at one time, a couple of years ago, was the poorest county. He said it, I didn't. If you go to is it Vonnie Roster? If you go to her page, you will be able to see it. He said it. He said it out his mouth. So I'm just curious. How can somebody that work a part-time job, don't work no other job, but work a part-time job, right? How could they make that much money to be a multimillionaire? And those are questions, right? Those are questions. Those are simple questions. That's what anybody asks. Those are simple questions. You know what's funny? Hey Joshua, I don't know if he's saying he stole it. I guess I'm not. It didn't sound like he implied that. It just sounded like that he said that he had the money. But you know, the thing with all of that is, it's funny because if a preacher in this area said that they had $2 million, and they was a pastor, and they driving a 6-figure car, and they driving all this, that, and the third, the community would be in uproar. How can the pastor make all that money and drive good and live good with big houses, and they got all this houses and all this stuff, but the people in his congregation ain't got nothing? But we don't say that when it's a politician. We be real quiet when it's a politician, because they come with fish sandwiches and 6-packs of beer to hand out for people to vote, right? And that's make it okay, right? That make it okay, right? Man, we got to stop it. We got to stop it. And everybody is not going to agree with you. I wholeheartedly understand that, right? And he said this today. He said to pray for him and Mayor Hinton, because being a public servant is a hard job. And I wholeheartedly agree with him. I wholeheartedly agree with him. That being a public servant is a hard job. But also, too, if you're transparent, if you're honest with the people, it wouldn't be hard. And then I don't understand how some hard, if you're doing right, accountability ain't hard. Just tell you that right now. What's up, John? John Kirkendall, how you doing, brother? Hey, and John, John is watching right now. I want to send a shout out to John. Look, we're gonna date out. I'm gonna tell people how old we are, John. Me and John went to Primary Leadership Development School in Camp Jackson, Korea, back in September 2002 together. And John knew me back then. We connected recently, reconnected on social media, and John's a real good dude, real good dude. And Lat, I want to tell you this. Yeah, he said this guy's a walking, talking mascot for mismanagement of funds. Lat, I have to agree with you. My thing is, I'm not saying you stealing, but I will tell you this. Show the receipts where all the money went. You know, one of the common practice, allegedly, one of the common practices of what they do around here in Perry County, and I got this from a very credible source, because this person was approached by somebody who typically get contracts. And the practices is that, hey, you charge a little bit more. Hey, this is what it's going to cost for the contract, but you just charge about 10% more so you can get a little something off the top. That's a common practice right here for contracts. That's why when they say it's red flags, when you have certain things, like, and it's just crazy, man. Like, I want the people to really be able to see certain stuff, right? And this is what I want the people to see. Albert said today about, you know, we're getting all these grant money to fix up the courthouse, and millions of dollars to fix the courthouse or whatever. Okay, let's be honest, right? If I go back and I look at the capital fund budget for Perry County this year is $400,000. Right, the capital fund budget last year wasn't a lot, right? Over the years, that funding and that money to repair those buildings, yes, that's okay, I got it. But we talking like millions. We throw all this stuff out. I'm gonna tell you what the other tactic is. He said something today, and this is what he does to play on the string. You know, we got to do a lot with a little. In Perry County, as an elected official, it's hard. It's hard when you got to do a lot with a little. Yeah. But I thought you had the ticket to the Golden Goose. I thought you, with your extensive knowledge of ADECA and all of this stuff, you could just rank the money rolling in. All of those articles, not articles, but all of those Facebook posts about how all this money rolling in and how you getting all this money and all of these projected things and the money that you gonna get. And you talking about all of this stuff that you gonna get, but then now your excuse is we poor and it's hard. But the question is, Albert Turner, since you worked at ADECA and you said you was over all the rural grants that go to the rural areas and all of these rural grants that are available, which I shared a post talking about all of these different grants that rural areas can get, why isn't Perry County getting some of that? Maybe it's because you hadn't done audits, and audits is part of the requirement to get those. So you're looking for other grants to not have audits because you don't want to do a full forensic audit because it will show your misappropriation. Stop playing with these people. And Pam, you are 100% acting and pretending to be a good person when not is exhausting. And I would tell people that I'm going to say this and I'm going to say it with my chest. Stop pimping religion to play on the people's emotions to try to act like you standing for what's right for them when you are the sole one the devil is using to rob these people blind. Stop doing that because you're going to give an account for it. You're going to give an account for it. I'm telling you right now. You know, we talk about all of this stuff and we talking about, don't let the naysayers steal your hope, because they trying to be divisive. Asking you, what did you do with the $500,000 that you said that the county got? And asking you where the receipts to the work that you said was going to be done. How is that being divisive? How? It's only divisive because you want to control the narrative. You want to continue to be manipulative and manipulate the people and not respect the people. And I will tell you, shout out to Terry Sewell representative that was there today. Doing his comments, he asked me to stand and he acknowledged me for my distinguished military service and thanked me for my service. And I would tell you that was an honor, especially when you had the host of the event, Chairman Albert Fitzgerald Turner, who called me Private Powell, who called me Sergeant Outsider, and who's always taking shots at me for my military service. Boy, I tell you, he ain't like to hear that. He sure didn't want to hear that. And it's sad, because I ain't got nothing against him. I just want him to stop lying. And respectfully, I wish that he would not run again for chairman and just bow down. You done did 25 years, man. Time for somebody else. And the reason why you fight so hard is you don't want nobody else to come in there because you know you're going to get exposed for the stuff you did. You know it. Because the numbers ain't going to lie with the audits, man. You can manipulate the budgets and have people change those numbers all you want to. Because I can show that. I've shown that myself. You can do that. But when you're talking about them bank statements, when you're talking about the forensic audits and they looking at what money is supposed to go to what, then they start looking at these contracts. I'm telling you, and Albert Fitzgerald Turner, who goes by Albert Turner Jr., which is a little strange because my daddy was named Robert Shepard. You know my daddy, Albert, the one you spreading these rumors about and lies about. I know you know my daddy. My daddy named Robert Shepard, but my name is Robert Lovejoy Shepard. I was called Little Robert. I think they call you Little Albert. But you know what I don't do? I don't go around and say I'm Robert Shepard Jr. You know why? Because my daddy didn't have a middle name. And I'm not trying to hold on to the legacy of my daddy's name. I just operate in the integrity and the example my daddy gave me to operate on. I choose to honor him by living it out every day, but not trying to ride the coattail of his name for clout. because I respect him enough for that. And he built me up and gave me example to be a man enough to stand on my own 2 feet and build my own legacy. A legacy that's about action. A legacy that's about being a man of his word. A legacy that's about doing something about something and not just sit around and talking about it. Right? A legacy that's about supporting the community and investing in the community. A legacy that's about using his own money and then not taking other people's money and then presenting like it's something that you're doing. You know, all of this stuff, you say you got millions of dollars. Okay, why don't you sponsor the Hatch basketball team? Why don't you sponsor the athletic program in Perry County? You see what I'm saying? What scholarships you gave out that's from your money, Albert, not the Civic League. Since you said you got $2 million, I'm nowhere close to $1 million. How many youth sports leagues that you sponsored? Huh, Albert? I'm asking this. Right? You love to claim Uniontown for the championships that they have, right? But my question is, how much money have you donated to the Uniontown Park and Rec League, Park and Rec Board? How much money have you donated yourself? You know what I did, Albert? It wasn't much, but I was paid money to sponsor a team. I donated money to buy water and snacks for them when they just got started. I've done that when I was staying in New York, since you love to reference when I was living in New York. I did that then. I also did it when I lived in Georgia. You see how that is, Albert? You see how it is to put your own money where your mouth is instead of using other people's money and using the money of the county to do your own bidding and try to table it like it's yours? You know, Pam said deflecting and misplacing accountability would not change the facts. The truth will always stand, right? The county is the second poorest in the county and the country under failed leadership. You know, when I say stuff like the second poorest, I'm just talking numbers. I love Perry County. Love Perry County, right? But these folks that we got, these same old folks, like I said, Albert ain't the only problem. We got a lot of other problems. But I will tell you this, Albert, what you did today at the Dr. Martin Luther King birthday celebration and unity breakfast, to take that time to take shots at me, showed me a lot about who you are. And it was disrespectful to the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. It was. It was. Right? And my thing is this, Albert, I know you have my phone number because I text you, but you never responded. You can call and talk to me on the phone. I will talk to you in person. Right? I'm not going to be all of this. This ain't no threat. This is just talking about it. But don't be doing all this slick stuff. If you're going to say something, say it. Stand on business. Don't be employing other people, spreading lies and all this stuff to try to discredit me because you don't like the fact that I've been holding you to account to the words you said. Just like I said, if you lied yesterday on the radio, you ain't finna get her appointed. She gonna go through the election. And why would you say that when you've been advocating and try to get 2 people to run against her and they turned you down? Crazy work. You be doing stuff like, Albert does stuff like this. I want people to see this. When the probate judge, Reverend Hogue, back in March of last year, was advocating to have the former probate judge, Miss Anderson, to come on to hire her as a contractor to help with them when they was trying to digitize the roads, digitize the files in Perry County. Albert had a problem and voted against Miss Anderson making $20 an hour as a contractor to the revenue commission, as a contractor. But now he's advocating to pay somebody $35 an hour to work as a contractor. And just so happened that person lives in District 1. And District 1 is his district. And he does stuff like that. Let me give people jobs and families from the area where I live at so I can get their support. Instead of just doing what's right. Why couldn't you pay a retired, you got a retired former probate judge who's been hired as a contractor. You ain't want to pay her over $20 an hour? I'm just telling you this. And Mac G says, stop electing people to represent you that aren't making your way of life better. And not only that, stop electing people to represent you who their assets are growing, their net worth is growing, but nothing is getting better as far as you don't see any positive change for infrastructure in the county. And if that's the thing about it, people need to look at that. People need to sit down and just really ask themselves, right? And stop all this same old, same old. I can come to y'all and sing church hymns, and I can come to y'all and sing Negro spirituals and talk about all this, that, and the third. And I can talk about oppression and the civil rights and all of the sacrifice that people did. I fully acknowledge people died. Jimmy Lee Jackson gave his life. There's so many other people. Dr. Martin Luther King gave their life for people right to vote. But then to turn around and the same people with the same pigmentation as those people that gave their life now go out and try to steal election via absentee ballots. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. That's all I have. Make that make sense. Ask yourself that question. If y'all in the Uniontown area today, come out at 6 o'clock to the Quinn Chapter AME Church, to the Martin Luther King event. Reverend Dr. Carlton Hogue is going to be the speaker for that. He's also the probate judge for Perry County. Make it make sense, right? Make it make sense. I'll be putting out some more information about what people need to go to qualify for election. And I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna reshare it, but we have political leaders, Democratic Party leaders in the county and Republican Party leaders in the counties in the Black Belt. And I shared their names on the Black Belt Experience a couple months ago. I'll reshare it again. You need to ask your people, hey, why they ain't putting out information about how people can run? You know why they don't really share that? Because they only have a select few people that they want to run. Right? But hey, the more people to run, the better. And you still have time to qualify. And you know, I will continue to, make it make sense. Pam, programming and grooming at all costs. It is so funny how someone can provide facts, truth, and information and raise awareness and take the time to show people where they can find information for themselves and to empower the community with that information. And they are painted as divisive. They're painted as an agitator. They're painted as an outsider. They're saying that they don't have a right to ask those questions. To show people, hey, this how much money that the entities in Perry County has made and throughout the Black Belt. This is what they got grants for at this date and time, this, that, and the third. And showing people that. Because there's a lot of people that didn't know that Uniontown has gotten over $30 million in grant and loans from 2009 to 2023. When I shared that, a lot of people were like, man, I didn't know they got all of this money. Yes. Then you go to Perry County. Then you go to Marion, sharing all of that information. You'll start to see, and that just makes you ask this question. Okay, y'all got all this grant funding for this. Well, why haven't we seen any results of it? People don't like people to ask questions. You know why? Because they can't manipulate the answer. But man, I hope y'all have a great Monday. Stay blessed. I look forward to, I got the sound system for Uniontown. It's been a scheduling conflict, but I do have the sound system here in Uniontown. I personally bought a sound system and a PA system and 2 wireless mics, to donate to the city of Uniontown. I shared the picture, but to donate to the city of Uniontown, so that they can have a microphone. So when they have their, city council meeting, you know, you have wireless mics so the people can have a mic when they talk. And then the mayor and the city council can have a mic so people can better hear them, with that. You know what I didn't have to do to get that, Albert? I ain't had to get no grant. I ain't had to get no grant, Albert. I paid that out of my pocket. You know why? Because when I went to the city council meeting in December and I saw what they was using, I said, hey, my hometown, I can do something about that. And I did something about it. Right? You see how simple that was? You see how, like, really easy that was? And then not only that, Albert, I drove it from Georgia. I had it shipped to me in Georgia, and I drove it from Georgia, and I drove it to Alabama. So the community can have it. So it can benefit the community. For the community. You see how easy that is? And Albert, I ain't running for political office. I ain't in political office. You know, I'm just a outsider, right? Oh, look, hey, Albert, this the Albert. I know you probably still watching. You probably got out because you don't want me to see your name up, but look what old Private Powell did, Albert. Look what old Private Powell did. Private Powell. Look what he did for his community, his hometown. Now, I would share it on the What's Happening in Uniontown page, but you never prove anything that I share on that page because you the admin of it. Y'all see how crazy that is? And I keep bringing it up because I want people to know it. And it doesn't matter if you like me. It don't matter. It don't matter if you like me or not. Again, where have I lied? You know, a disagreement with what I say don't mean that I lied. That means you disagree. And guess what? I respect your right to do so. But where did I lie at? Where did I talk about people personally? Where did I spread misinformation about people? Where have I done that? Right? And at the end of the day, I'm going to keep going. And ain't nothing you can do about it. Ain't nothing you can do about it. But more to come, more to follow. And just know, you know, every day is a better day. And change is coming in the Black Belt in 2026. There's a huge shift. And I want people to look at it from a spiritual perspective, right? Look at it from a spiritual perspective. Say we wrestle not against flesh and blood, right? When you talking about strongholds, demonic strongholds run deep. Demonic strongholds run real deep, right? And the demonic stronghold don't care if you're religious. The demonic stronghold don't mind that you go to church as long as you don't disrupt what they got going on. And as soon as you speak out and start to hold the account to disrupt what they got going on, then all of a sudden they're going to try to attack you. They're going to try to feel like they can silence you. They're going to do all of this stuff behind closed doors. They're going to collaborate and work together for all of this stuff, right? But they still not going to be accountable to what their behavior and what their action was, right? And I want to use a quote that Mayor Dexter Hinton said this morning about Dr. Martin Luther King. And he said, I want to make sure get it right. I just want to make sure I get it right so we all on the same page. Martin Luther King, this is a quote by Martin Luther King that Dexter Hinton quoted today. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Right? That's a famous quote by Dr. Martin Luther King. Signifying that negativity and evil are overcome by positivity. Understanding and love, not by responding with more of the same, but by actively introducing light and compassion to create change. Now, what I want to say is accountability is not negativity. You know, the Bible says spare the rod, spoil the child. So the thing is, when somebody is holding you to account, that means that they love you. That's what that means. And it's so funny how it's easily people can categorize accountability as negativity. And or you telling the truth of what the facts say as negativity. But you know what's funny? The same people, you don't hear anybody saying something about why these folks lying. Lying is negative. Why these folks are being deceitful? That's negative. Why these folks being neglectful to the community? That's negative. But you don't hear anything said about that. But with that, man, you guys have a great and blessed day. And, you know, stay committed, stay vigilant. And if I lied, please provide me with factual information that it can be verified. And I will gladly come back on to say that I was wrong. Right? But you guys have a blessed and wonderful day. Stay locked in. Educate to elevate.